Hey everybody, I am Keaton. This is Kid Catholic Season 5, Episode 24. Just a few things before we get into today's video. Now, if you saw last week's video or you follow my social medias, then you know that I was confirmed last Thursday. It was absolutely amazing. I posted pictures of my confirmation on my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So if you want to see some pictures from my confirmation, you can go over there and check it out. It was absolutely a blessing to receive the sacrament of confirmation. It was really, really cool. But today, it is the day before Ash Wednesday, and so let's do a video on Lent. But before we get into it, guys, remember, coming up next week, is the Q&A video, the final video of the season. I have gathered some of your guys' questions, but if you want to ask a question for a Q&A video, you need to comment it as soon as possible so that I can see it by the time the Q&A video comes out. You can comment it on my YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag AskKC. It's very important that you get your questions in now. So like I said, it is the day before Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday is coming up tomorrow, which is the beginning of Lent, the kickoff of Lent. Now, I've done videos on Lent before. I've done videos on the differences between fasting and abstaining. I've done videos on what Lent really means and the liturgical colors involved in Lent. I've done videos on Ash Wednesday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, all three of them, what they mean, Holy Thursday. I've done all those sorts of videos. But what I really wanted to emphasize today is the fasting element that comes along with Lent. Yo, what is up, fellow people? This is future Keaton from a day later when my hair isn't styled as good as it was when I was recording this. So as I was editing, I noticed that I really didn't emphasize the difference between fasting and abstaining. I used it sort of generally, sort of loosely, saying that fasting is just everything, giving up something, refraining from meat on Fridays. It's all fasting. And I mean, that's sort of how it's looked at as a society in Catholicism, but technically that's not true. So briefly, just wanted to explain, just wanted to clarify something. There is a difference between fasting and abstaining. Abstaining is refraining from meat, which we are asked to do on Ash Wednesday and all the Fridays throughout Lent. And then fasting is no snacks throughout the day, and you must have, when you eat your 3 meals, you must have 2 smaller meals that are so small that they equal the size of your 1 larger meal. So that's technically what fasting is. And so we are asked to fast on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday during Lent. Now, when I say fasting here, when I say the topic is fasting, and I talk about how giving up meat on Fridays is fasting, and I talk about how giving up something for Lent is fasting, generally, that's what we call it as Catholicism, but technically that's not true. So when I say fasting here, I say it very loosely, I say it very cautiously, because technically it's not true, but that generally that's what we call it. So just know that fasting here is a loose word for this episode. Okay, enjoy the rest of the episode. It's a really cool episode. I mean, it is. But before we get into that, I just want to do a brief explanation of what Lent is. Lent is a liturgical season that takes place before Jesus' death, passion, and resurrection. And the idea is a preparation and prayer leading up to his death on Good Friday, and then awaiting his resurrection that comes Easter Sunday. It's not a joyful time. Like I said, Advent is associated as a joyful time, even though I explained it's not completely a joyful time. I explained that several videos ago, but this is definitely not a joyful time. Like, Advent is one of those where you could look at it as a joyful time. Lent, absolutely not. It is the preparation and prayer for Jesus' passion. And so, as a result of that, it is a time of fasting. Jesus fasted in the desert for 40 days with 0 food, and we don't even come anything close to that. We still eat food. The only fasting that we are required to do is to refrain from eating meat on Fridays during Lent, which, compared to what Jesus did in the desert, compared to what Jesus endured during his passion, the scourging at the pillar, the crown of thorns, his crucifixion, all of that, not eating meat on Fridays is really nothing. But we also need to give up something extra. For example, give up playing video games or give up soda or something like that throughout the remainder of Lent. I am giving up YouTube. Not like that. I'm still posting videos every Tuesday. Every Tuesday I'll come out with a new video. But other than that, I'm staying off YouTube. I'm not watching YouTube. I'll still heart your guys' comments and things like that. I'll still be making videos. but I won't be watching any YouTube, anything like that. That's what I'm giving up. I'm also giving up talking about Lord of the Rings, because according to my family, I talk about it way too much, and it's a problem, and I'm gonna fix it this Lent. It doesn't have to be giving up something. We can do self-sacrifices throughout Lent. Maybe refrain from sleeping on our bed. Maybe when we see something that we want that we don't need, we don't get it. Or when we see something that we want to eat that we don't need, we don't eat it. Self-sacrifices like that. Or refrain from sleeping on our bed. Little comforts. Maybe take cold showers. You know, little self-sacrifices like that we can do during Lent. Because after all, Jesus endured all that pain through the passion, and this is all we're doing, is giving up something for Lent and refraining from eating meat on Fridays, which really, again, compared to his passion, is absolutely nothing. Yet, it still can be hard. I'm not saying that it's not hard, because it still can be hard to give up something for Lent. As in modern society, I've said this before on this channel, we have so many distractions, right? We have so many distractions, including the internet. We have a lot easier access to food than anybody has ever had. We have easier access to entertainment than anybody has ever had. So we have all these distractions, and so it can be hard to give up something, whether it be a food or whether it be watching YouTube like me. It can be very hard. It can be hard to make self-sacrifices too, because we are an era, the 21st century, is, for a lot of people, an era of comfort, when we have hot water and when we have easier access to food and entertainment with the internet and stuff like that. Giving up stuff like that can be very hard, even though compared to what Jesus went through, it's absolutely nothing. It can still be very hard. And something that comes along with fasting, as a result of fasting, we have temptation to not fast. Temptation to do what we are giving up, whether, again, that be food, to eat what we're giving up, or to watch YouTube, what I'm giving up, whatever we are giving up, we can be tempted to do that. And to be honest, that is the work of the devil, because think about it. The devil's ultimate goal is to bring us away from God in whatever way that may be, and that easily comes with temptation. But fasting, in and of itself, brings us closer to Christ. In and of itself, it connects us with Christ. Again, even though Christ was on a much larger scale, we can still feel connected with him, because while we might be enduring some very, very tiny suffering compared to Jesus' great one, we still are enduring some temptations and some things that we might want to do that we know we shouldn't because it's Lent, and that can relate us to Christ, and it can bring us closer to Christ in and of itself. Lent is not only a time of prayer and preparation, but it is a time to come closer to Christ. While we should be doing that all year round, Lent can sort of be a motivator to get closer to Christ, and the devil knows that, and so temptation to do what you're giving up, or to eat what you're giving up, or to eat meat on Fridays during Lent can be very strong, yet it's present, and we need to do our best to avoid that, and that's by getting closer to Jesus, because like I said, fasting in and of itself brings us closer to Jesus Christ. Fasting is so significantly important during the time of Lent, because it connects us with Jesus. It allows us to thank Jesus, right? It is thanking Jesus for what he has done for us, because he did it on such a large scale, with the scourging at the pillar, with the crown of thorns. The passion that he endured is so huge and so large. It is the worst pain of murder anybody in the entire history of earth has ever endured, and Jesus endured it for us. Think about this. Even if it were just you, if everybody else on the planet disappeared and it were only you on the planet, Jesus still would have done it. If it were for you only, if it were for me only, if one of us remained, he would do it. Which is absolutely crazy to think about. He did it for each and every one of us. He endured that, and he saved the world because of that. And so the least we could do is refrain from eating meat on a Friday during this 40-day period out of the 365-day year, right? Because he did all that for us. It is a way to thank Jesus for what he did, and to prepare for his passion. Good Friday is the most emotional day of the entire year, right? It is actually the only day where masses are not said. It is a day of mourning, and as a result of that, because we know that's coming, the rest of Lent should be a day of mourning also, because we know that that's coming, and we need to prepare for that. The day that it happened, the day that Jesus died, the day that Jesus went through his passion, the day of the Last Supper, all that is coming during Lent, and we need to prepare for that. We need to prepare for that through prayer, through fasting, right? Through praying, especially during Lent, because we know what Jesus went through. We should be praying all year round, but again, if we are in a situation, if we're struggling with our prayer life, or we're struggling in whatever it might be, Lent can be a motivator to move us closer to Jesus Christ. Lent does so much for us, and fasting is such a key part of that. And fasting is so important when it comes to Lent because of what Jesus went through. The fact that he shed his blood for every single one of us is absolutely crazy. And he did so much more than shed his blood, right? He did so much more. That's how much he loves us. First, before the joy at the end of Lent, is the sorrow, the beginning of Lent. And we need to acknowledge that. Lent is not a joyful time. It is a mournful time because we know that Jesus' death is on the way. And fasting is a way of thanking him. And it is the least we could do for what he went through. Like I said, he fasted without food for 40 days. Not only his passion, he fasted no food for 40 days in the desert. Giving up watching YouTube, that's actually the very, very minimum least of what we could do. That's how important fasting is during the season of Lent. So, now that the topic is done, do y'all know what it's time for now? It's time for
the Saint of the Week!
Now, today's Saint of the Week is Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Now, I might have done her before, but she's just a perfect saint for what I'm talking about today, which is fasting. Now, Saint Teresa of Calcutta was born into a Catholic family. She was confirmed at the age of 6. Her father died at a young age of 8. She later joined a missionary and actually ended up founding the Sisters of Charity. Now, charity, that is the emphasis word when it comes to St. Teresa of Calcutta's life. She dedicated her life to charity. She did everything she could for Jesus. She received visions from Jesus. In fact, in a day, in a way she can't explain, she explained that Jesus just his thirst for love, his thirst for charity just grabbed a hold of her heart, and she dedicated the rest of her life to spreading the message of Jesus and to giving others the medical need that they need and charity that they need. She did whatever it takes for Jesus, including giving up some of her own food for others. She provided medical care for others on the streets who were homeless, who were poor, who had nowhere to go. She gave up some of her stuff to help those. She won a Nobel Peace Prize, which is awesome. That's a recent. She is a 20th century saint and died in 1997. Charity, charity, charity is what she emphasizes on. She dedicated her life to charity. She did so many things for so many others, and she's such a great saint to look at, because in a time where it can feel hard during Lent to fast or to give up something of ours, she did whatever it took for Jesus. Because she had visions of Jesus. If Jesus told her to do something, she did it. That's how amazing St. Teresa of Calcutta was. She looked to Jesus. She knew what she had to do. She would do whatever it takes for Jesus. And Lent is a time of doing things for Jesus. A time of self-sacrifice. A time of fasting and giving up things for Jesus in a way of thanking Jesus for his passion. St. Teresa of Calcutta did that, but like all year round. And so that's something that we can imitate. It became second nature for her to give others medical support, to give others food, clothing, homes. She did as much as she could to help those on the streets, and that's something that we can look at. She did so much self-sacrifice, which is what we need to do during the time of Lent, and she was able to resist the temptation of modern society and resist the temptation of not giving to charity, not giving to people on the streets, and resist the temptation of not giving up stuff for Jesus. And she was able to do that. And that's what we need to that's why we need to look to her during Lent. Anytime we feel like it might be hard to fast or to give up meat on Fridays during Lent, or to give up what we're giving up, whether, again, that be food, or whether that be YouTube, or whatever it may be, anytime we feel like that can be hard for us, we can look to St. Teresa of Calcutta. So, before y'all go, remember, coming up next week is the Q&A video. You need to ask your questions now, that way I can answer them as soon as possible. Also, if you want to book me to come speak, you can go to kid-catholic.com/contact, and you can email me from there about details on what you want me to talk about and where you want me to speak. Also, go check out my website, kidcatholic.com. Like I said, you can contact me, you can read about me. All my videos are on there. You can see details about my speaking engagements, the talks I've given. I have a video of one of my talks up on there. You can buy t-shirts. I have t-shirts for sale. You can go to the shop on my website. So many cool things you can do on my website. Be sure to check that out. Also, check out all 3 of my social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The link to all 3 of those will be in the description and in the comments below. Also, if you're not already, please click the red subscribe button down below and the bell next to it. That way you get notified when I come out with a new video. Also, please press the like button. Comment any saint or topic suggestions that you might have. Comment what you thought about this video. Comment what you yourself are giving up for Lent. And maybe others can have inspiration if they haven't decided yet. So, thank you guys so much for watching. This was Kid Catholic Season 5, Episode 24. Q&A video coming next week. And hi, Brielle.